Hello guys, welcome back to my video podcast Career Change, Heal to Lead. My name is Stephanie Gernke and I'm a career coach and expert in building a successful and fulfilling career. Welcome to today's episode. In this episode, I will talk you through four ways that will make your career as glorious on the inside as it probably looks on the outside. Because maybe you sometimes feel that things look really great on the outside. You have great degrees and a great job title, maybe even a really good salary, and you work really hard to get there. But at the same time, it feels very different to you on the inside. Maybe there's struggle, there's emptiness, there's stress, and there's just no excitement anymore. So this episode is going to be for you if you want to learn how things can feel great again on the inside. And this is even possible without changing your entire life around immediately, but just with a couple of tricks that I'm going to share with you today. So let's get started and enjoy today's episode. I would like to open with one thought, which is something that makes me very grateful every day. I think we live in a time where we are able in this part of the world to maintain a lifestyle in terms of material wealth and security that many of our generations before us haven't. So if you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, most of us can focus their attention on the top three layers, which are love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization, which is actually a really big thing, and which is probably also something that you're really into if you're listening to this podcast right now. So I think it's a great thing that we don't have to focus on certain physiological needs and security needs anymore these days. And I think this is the only reason why I can even record an episode like this today on even asking ourselves, how can we also feel great on the inside? Because we are actually able nowadays to ponder about these things and to work on these kind of things. And this already brings me to the first way that you can feel better on the inside about your career, which is gratitude. And I know this might sound to you like something that you've heard before. And yes, you have to be um, very thankful for everything you got in your life. But for me, it has really shifted things around because I don't know if you noticed that, but we tend to spend a lot of time wishing that things would be different in our lives. We kind of completely lose sight of the things that we already have, of the great things we have in our life, because we're so focused on the things that we think we need to get. And most of this we just do because if we think we finally going to get those things, then we'll be happy on the inside. So really, um, we just do these things because we think we're eventually going to have a feeling that, and I'm going to tell you this right now, you can already have right now. So I don't know if you've ever noticed that your focus is very much maybe on the future, on the past, but especially on the things that you think you don't have. And I can give you an example. I was very much in this phase in my last job. At some point, I was really unhappy because things weren't going so great for the company, and I didn't really have any cool projects to take on. And then COVID hit, and we were all in home office, and I didn't really have this social interaction anymore. I was just sitting there all day by myself. And I was really unhappy and not very grateful for what I was having at the time. And then I started with my gratitude practice and things started shifting for me a little bit. So all of a sudden, I was thinking, great, I get to do laundry now on a Wednesday, like in the middle of the day, because I no longer am in the office 5 days a week. I need to do all of my household chores on a Saturday. So I actually get time back on the weekend now. Or I started realizing that, oh, in general, everything is more flexible. And I get to do things like finally try out new recipes that I've never cooked because usually I just run over to the supermarket to get myself a snack for lunch break. And these were the little things where my mood and the way I felt about things on the inside started shifting without anything necessarily changing on the outside. And the longer I kept doing this, what happened to me eventually was that great opportunities came up. Like all of a sudden, I got to spend the winter in Madeira. My boss was fine with this because I was able to work remotely. So I didn't have to keep sitting in the UK. I could actually go out into a sunny place for a couple of months. I was able to start my coaching business on the side because with this flexibility of working and no commuting time anymore, I had more time in the day to start taking on clients and to start working on my coaching business on the side. So there were actually things emerging out of this that I think back then I didn't even realize I wanted or I could have. But what I started with the gratitude part. So in a way, I changed how I felt on the inside before even other things on the outside emerged. So I'm going to encourage you to try this thing for a week. For 1 week, every evening, write down or at least think of 3 things that you're grateful for that day. And it could be very little things like, I took half an hour to go for a walk today, or I really liked speaking to that one colleague that I spoke to today. Start reprogramming your thinking and your nervous system, because this is exactly what's going to shift things on the inside. And then you might attract new things on the outside if you want them, or maybe you don't even want them because on the outside everything is already great. And then the second thing I want you to do is to also every evening think of 3 things that are that you're proud of yourself, because I think we don't do this enough, that we actually think of the things that we're proud of ourselves, the things that we have achieved, because we're so focused on what we haven't achieved yet. Especially in my experience with people that are kind of high performers and always pushing themselves, they don't take a lot of time to actually soak in and feel this, right? And this is why people eventually feel really empty. So if you start by going on the inside, changing your perspective on the things that are already out there with gratitude, this is such a powerful tool. Believe me, try it, and maybe let me know how your perspective has already shifted. Because I think if you are happy with what you got on the outside because you think it looks great, then that will stay. And if it doesn't, if that's not the thing that you really want because you had it in your life for reasons that weren't actually making you happy, then new things will emerge. But start on the inside first, because a lot of the times we think we need to hustle in order to get that happiness feeling. No, you can be fulfilled right now with whatever you got, especially like I mentioned earlier in this part of the world, because we are really secure in a lot of different ways. And the thing that's really closely connected is actually the second way that makes you more grateful and fulfilled on the inside, which is joy. So especially joy in the process. So try finding the joy in the process and the journey that you're on, because what we often think is that, well, once I reach that goal, once I'm there, then I'm going to be happy. But reaching a goal is actually the smallest part of, like, the smallest amount of time in most of your life. The longest part of the time you spend actually getting there. So if you have no joy in the process, you're actually not going to enjoy things, right? So when I started my career, I went to one of the best universities in Germany for business studies. Me and my classmates, we all moved on to great careers afterwards in banking, consulting, big consumer brands, airlines. And for many of us, we also started job hopping really soon. We got our new jobs because some of us felt burned out, really stressful jobs. Some of us didn't see the purpose in what we were doing. Some of us just felt like we needed to keep moving to get ahead, to be better, to like not be left out. And in the meantime, we forgot to enjoy the process, right? It was always on to the next thing, it was always bigger and better. And that the problem is, then your inner fulfillment is really, really short lived if you always focus on the next goal and the next goal and the next goal, but you forget to find the joy in what you're currently doing. So, for inner fulfillment, you need to find a way to enjoy the things that you spend most time of. And I'm not saying that this couldn't change over time, the things that you spend time on, but there will always be things in your life that you don't love, and or that you think are chores. But finding fun ways of making them enjoyable is actually the way that shifted things for me a lot, right? So as an example, when I started my business full time, or even before that, one of my mentors said, she's like, well, what's your bottleneck right now in building your business? And I was like worried. I'm like, I need to like make more revenue and like, get the cash in. And she's like, you know what? I think your bottleneck actually is finding joy in your business. Like, do you actually enjoy building your business right now? And that's when I realized, I was like, no, I'm not. I'm like so focused on when I think my business is finally going to make it, then I'm going to be happy and fulfilled, that I didn't have any fun in what I was doing. And it actually took me less than a month to figure out to really enjoy the things that I was doing. And for me, this is like such a game changer, because yes, of course, it's important to bring the revenue in because you need to survive, especially when you are your own person, you have your own business. But the joy, I think, for me, started attracting people that otherwise would have never found me. All of a sudden, I started writing posts that I actually wrote because I had fun writing about my experience and sharing this with other people. And I revamped the way I was doing sales conversations so that it felt more naturally to me. And all of this started attracting the things that I wanted into my life. But I started with the joy first. So, again, it's the same thing. You start feeling different on the inside, and then on the outside, you will attract different things because you're in a different energy. And so I would urge you to try this for a week. Every day, ask yourself, it's almost going to be like a mantra, where is the joy? Where can I find the joy in what I'm currently doing? Where's the joy? And this way, you are going to find ways and you're going to have ideas because we always produce, our brain always produces answers to the questions we ask ourselves, right? So, our life or the quality of our life really is a result of the kind of questions we ask ourselves. So if you keep asking yourself, where's the joy in what I'm doing every day, you will be amazed at the outcome. So let me know what kind of ideas you guys come up with. But that's possible in any job. It doesn't need to be your own business because you always have a way of shaping things for yourself. So take this away. The second way to feel more fulfilled on the inside with your career is actually to find the joy in the process. And then the next thing, the third thing I want to talk about, which is really important in feeling fulfilled on the inside, is vulnerability. And I know you're probably going to say, oh, Steffi, that is a bit difficult in business. The business world doesn't like vulnerability. We're not allowed to show weaknesses, which is usually the way we also explain vulnerability, which I think is not the right interpretation. My opinion is if you really show yourself and you keep exploring what's your authentic self, then the opportunities that are a real match for you will be able to find you. So sometimes when we feel things are great on the outside, but they don't feel great on the inside, we've actually built ourselves a life or a career that is built on wanting external validation, wanting somebody to tell us you did great, somebody saying to us, okay, if you choose this type of career, then everything is going to work out well for you. But we haven't listened to ourselves. And I think this is a very important thing that you start exploring what's on the inside for you, what do you need? Because a lot of times, also, no matter where you are, even in a job, people don't want perfection. They want authenticity, right? People don't buy from you. People don't hire you because you're perfect. People hire you because they like you as a person and they won't be able to get to know you as a person if you don't show your authentic self. So if you feel like you're stuck in a career where things feel great on the outside, but they don't feel great on the inside, maybe check if that alignment is actually working, or if you showed a version of yourself when you first got into that career, which is just not true to yourself. And that's why it's become a problem for you. And that's why it started actually draining you and getting the energy out of you. So many of us, I think, in the business world, especially, we hide behind masks and we think we need that in order to be successful. Or sometimes we maybe also do that because we then are not able to feel that certain business practices are probably not done the right way and the way that we think we could really stand behind it. So we kind of cut that side of us out. But I promise the more you're going to explore this, the more you're going to move towards a career and you will find people and opportunities that actually are giving you what you're looking for on the inside. And then the outside success will come with that automatically, or you might realize that certain things that you held onto on the outside are actually not that important, right? So, as an example, I was always very, very bad at asking for help. And in my first job, I got to a point where I had to like optimize a warehouse, like the entire area, and how could we rearrange this. And I ended up reaching out to somebody I'd met at a conference, and he was like the head of this consultant team that was in charge of, helping to optimize any kind of production processes. So I reached out to him for help and I said, like, see, I have this thing that I have to do and I have some thoughts, but I would really appreciate your input on this because I think you could probably, with your knowledge, help me to do this much better. And it was funny because we sat together for an afternoon and we looked over the concept and he gave me amazing feedback. And you would think that if you're afraid of showing vulnerability in a way of like, I need support here, that people would then judge you and not even consider hiring you. But this guy actually hired me into his team 6 months later because he said, well, by you reaching out to me and asking for help, I spent an afternoon with you. I really got to know you. I got to know your thinking. And although you maybe didn't have all the knowledge yet, I could really see your potential in the way you approach things. That's why I want you for my team. So vulnerability actually opens you up to the kind of opportunities that you want, because I love the job that I was doing there. I love the colleagues. This is literally, and I probably shouldn't say that, but it was literally the best team I've ever worked for. And I would have not had this opportunity if I tried to pretend that I knew everything and maybe applied to his job opening 6 months later and would have not shown anything of what I'd shown to him previously, right? So maybe ask yourself, what is it that you're trying to hide from? Where do you feel like, oh, if I'm showing that part of myself, I'm going to be found out and then people won't appreciate me or won't work with me anymore, or I will fall down. Um, that's when you need to actually try and open up there. Try ask for help, try ask for support, because firstly, this is like such a giant relief to your nervous system, because trying to hide something is literally like putting your nervous system under stress, which just adds to you not feeling very fulfilled and happy on the inside. And at the same time, it's probably going to open up opportunities for you that you can't even imagine right now. And they might not appear straight away, but like I said, in my case, it was 6 months down the line that this was actually a great decision. I could have not seen that back then, but I realized whenever I'm authentic, I also connect with the people that I love spending time with, and then opportunities kind of naturally emerge. So ask yourself, which are the parts that you're not showing? Which are the parts that you think you need to hide away? And start showing them. And if you show them to people that don't appreciate them, then maybe this is just a sign for you. And this again is going to open up opportunities for you to move on to environments where these sides are appreciated, because I think we need more of that kind of authenticity, especially in the business world. And I think this is also when you're fully in your strength and your power, you can create great things for the world. And if you're not, you will always just be half of your potential. You're not going to be able to really contribute what you are able to contribute to the world. So I encourage you, show vulnerability, show yourself, find your authenticity. That's the third point. And then the last and the fourth point is, and I think that's kind of closely related to vulnerability as well, is trust. So many of us in our careers are constantly fighting. We think we need to fight for what we want. We think we need to fight against other people to get ahead. We kind of think that life is against us and we just always need to be on guard in order to not basically be disadvantaged. And I think this is something we need to stop. We need to stop fighting. We need to stop thinking that life is against us, because in a way, and this took me actually a couple of years to realize this, but now I'm convinced, is that in so many ways, life is always for us. Anything that we experience is kind of in a way an offer to you to learn something about yourself and to progress towards a direction that maybe sometimes you can't see, but that's going to be beneficial for you to in the long run. So anytime something doesn't work out, I think there's a reason for it. And sometimes it takes a while to see this, but I've started to really trust that things will work out in a way that maybe is not what I think I want, but what I really need. And for me, this is just a breakthrough in terms of feeling fulfilled on the inside with my career as well, because there's always going to be difficulties that I'm facing. But as an example, I didn't really like, I knew for a very long time I wanted to work with people and I wanted to work as a coach. And after my MBA, I started applying to a lot of jobs in talent management. All I really wanted to do was like train people and work with people and develop people. And I applied to so many different jobs in talent management. I spoke to people, I tried to network, but I just didn't get in. I didn't get into the job that I wanted. And now it's like 3 years later, I'm really glad I didn't, because I learned to develop the skills in order to build my own business, to sell my own services. And this is actually much closer aligned to the way of development work that I've been wanting to do. It's closer aligned to my values. And I think the way I'm working now, I get to have a bigger impact on people's development the way that I was hoping to get it. And I think this is something that retrospectively, I think life was for me that I didn't get into these jobs that I thought that I really wanted, because it just wasn't the right fit, and I wouldn't have been pushed to learn the things that I learned now that are probably going to make me much happier in the next 20 years. But maybe, yes, in the short term, and when it might have been nicer to get those jobs immediately and not like, learn all these things for 2 years. And I tell you, some of these lessons are not easy to learn, but retrospectively, I think these things happened for me. I would have not gone down the path that I have if I hadn't gotten into these jobs. So if you ever feel like you hold any grudges, and try this, ask yourself those questions. Do you hold any grudges about your past career? Are there any things where you think there's still, bosses or companies that owe you something? You didn't get what you wanted. Maybe you didn't get that promotion. Maybe you didn't get that pay rise. Maybe you were made redundant and you think you didn't really get what you wanted or what you were supposed to get. And then ask yourself, what was it good for? Can you already see that it was good for? Are you trusting that it's going to be good for something? Which lessons did you draw out from this, right? And most importantly, ask yourself, have you made peace with these past experiences? Because whenever we hold on to grudges, it just becomes a problem in a way that we can't really um, move on, right? We will always kind of feel that the life has done us wrong, and we try to basically get something better to wait it out. But when you start seeing everything as an opportunity to learn and start trusting that things happen for you and not against you, again, it relieves your nervous system. It gets you into a state of finding solutions quicker and more easily than you would usually do. And it just basically, your past fuels you instead of holding you back and dragging you down. And I think for me, this has worked really well. And I would really encourage you to do that as well. So I hope this is going to be helpful for you, especially if you're someone who's always high performing and is kind of pushing to get ahead and wants to have a great career. I think with the tips I've given you today, you can have a great career, or maybe even greater than you can imagine. And it's going to look great on the outside, and it's going to, most importantly, feel great on the inside, because I think a lot of the times we think we can only have either or. And I'm convinced we can have both. But for that, please start practicing gratitude. Start finding the joy in the process. Start showing vulnerability and really finding your authentic selves. And then last but not least, really, really make sure that you trust and that you accept that life is for you. I hope this was inspiring to you. Let me know what kind of insights you got from this episode. You can always post your comments below the video. Find me on Instagram at Stephanie Grunke with OE Grunke. Write me your comments. I'm always happy to hear feedback. Let me know if you have any other kind of ideas that you want to have. And of course, if ever you want support in working on these things and finding a fulfilling career, finding a successful and fulfilling career, hit me up for my one-on-one program. You can always DM me, and then we'll sit together, have a little conversation, and see how I can help you. Enjoy your day, and I hope you're going to tune in for my next episode. Bye bye.